Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? Please let me know in the comments below. You know I want to hear from you. I love hearing from you. And in fact, today we have another Questions with Chris. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing that. I don't want to keep doing that. I need, but Chris left a question today that is, I think, a big topic, and so I'm just gonna. It's Friday. I'm kind of ready for the weekend. I've got some stuff to do this weekend, so let's just do Chris's question today, and then we'll do normal stuff, normal diary stuff next week. So here we go. Here's Chris's question.
Hello, friend. How are you? Been scratching my head for today's advanced question of the day, and I work downtown, and I've got Gen Con on the mind, as you can see from these pictures. I park across from the convention center, and my office window has this view. So my question is, board game related? Oh, kind of. How'd you get into gaming? For me, it was actually RPGs. So I'm wondering, Chevee, if you ever played an RPG besides D&D, and if so, which ones? Did you like it? Would you do it again? Until next time.
That was like 100 questions. So let's start at the beginning. The first question was, how did I get into gaming? Chris says for him it was RPGs. For me, the earliest memory I have of playing like a tabletop game was Car Wars. And I was probably 8, 9, 10, somewhere around there. And my parents had friends whose son was like 2 to 4 years older than me, and he was really into Car Wars, and he taught me Car Wars. This would have been 87, 88. So I was late 80s. That's my first real remembrance of tabletop gaming. My next big memory is Dungeons and Dragons. We played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons in the late 80s, early 90s. I could only play it at my friend's house because Satanic Panic. I wasn't allowed to have that sort of thing in my house. So we played a lot of D&D. I joined a scout troop. We played D&D in the scout troop, did a lot of that. And then, of course, Magic the Gathering came along, and it was basically like, let's play D&D with cards. That's, kind of how we looked at it, because the people that I played with at that time were very much power gamers. They were just focused on rules and building OP characters and just doing stupid stuff. We weren't really story driven. So Magic the Gathering very much was like a simpler version of what we were playing as D&D, what our version of D&D was. So I played a lot of D&D in the late 80s, early 90s. And then my next obsession, so all during that time, I was playing basically every CCG that would come out. Played Magic from like revised on, is when I started. Beta was still available, but not like you couldn't go buy packs. I could get cards and stuff. So it was basically revised on. Played the BattleTech card game, which I loved, and I played BattleTech with a friend of mine. We played a lot of BattleTech. Of course, computer gaming really kind of started all of this, but I also played a lot of classic like Clue, checkers, chess, Chinese checkers. My mom liked to play those games, Chinese checkers and checkers. We played a lot of Clue at my aunt's house, so a little bit of that stuff. BattleTech was my next big thing, and then I started collecting because of BattleTech, which at that point FASA was the publisher of BattleTech. They had an RPG called Earth Dawn. And so because they did BattleTech, I bought Earth Dawn, and I loved Earth Dawn. I played a lot of Earth Dawn. I owned all of the Earth Dawn source material, and when I moved to Hawaii, I took all my RPG stuff with me, and we had a group there that played Earth Dawn for years. We played a lot of Earth Dawn. Also picked up Tunnels and Trolls at some point along the line. I really loved the simplistic D6 system of Tunnels and Trolls, and I absolutely loved the solo modules. You could these solo games. You'd make a character, and then you'd go through these solo games. They were really fun, and I spent a lot of time doing those modules and designing my own. And then, so playing all of those CCGs in the early 90s, playing basically every RPG I could get my hands on. As far as RPGs go, I played dozens, literally dozens. I've tried a lot of them. I played mostly Earth Dawn and D&D. Those were my two biggest. Owned all of Legend of the Five Rings, but never played it. Maybe we played a couple of sessions of it. Um, I was the guy that owned all the RPGs, and my friends always liked for me to be the DM. They didn't want to DM, so I DM'd a lot, except for when I was in Hawaii. When I was in Hawaii, I got to play a lot, and I really enjoyed it. That's where my group, the Hawaii players, were really story driven. We got really heavily into the story and had a lot of fun. We played Earth Dawn there. I played D&D there. I was in the like whatever wizards like you have your character, and that character goes and you get points and stuff. It's like a tournament. I don't know. I forget what it was called, but you had a character, and that character was registered, and you would go play in registered events, and you would earn registered experience points, and you would advance your character and that sort of stuff. Did a lot of that. Conspiracy X, one of my absolute favorites. Delta Green, which was a Cthulhu version of Conspiracy, was also something that we played a lot of. Call of Cthulhu, played a lot of Call of Cthulhu. Star Wars, played a lot of Star Wars. I know I'm forgetting a bunch. I used to have two big tubs of RPG books. I just at 2020, I gave them away to a friend. I haven't played RPGs now in probably 15 years. Might have been the last time. Well, I mean, me and the kids, we tried to play D&D at the beginning of the pandemic. We played a couple of sessions and had a really good time with that. Would I play an RPG again? Yeah, I think I would, absolutely. If I could find a group that would work with my schedule, that's the problem. Right now I have my kids on an every other week schedule, which means that every other week I'm not going to be there. Because for me, when the kids are here, that's my time with the kids, and I don't go do things. I don't go play board game night. I don't have friends over. I mean, it's happened, but it's not a regular occurrence. I'm not gonna schedule things on their time. When they're here, it's we're a family, and so we just do family stuff. So finding an every other week group, or finding a group that's willing to let me sit in for like one-offs, I'll come be an NPC for a night or whatever. That would be the harder part. But I do have a very big background in RPGs, and I guess, to be truthful, while Car Wars was my introduction to tabletop gaming, I only played it a few times with that kid, and I never owned it until much later when like 5th edition came out. But D&D probably was my real introduction. And while I started working in the industry in the 90s, I started working with X-Files, the card game, and doing the convention scene that way. When I got out of the military, or maybe even while I was in the military, there was a few trips I made to conventions. Gen Con was in Milwaukee at that time. I did a trip to Gen Con just to play RPGs with friends, and I met up with friends that used to participate in the Wizards online chat room. We were online chat room friends, and we just played D&D for the whole convention in Milwaukee. So I didn't work that year, or maybe I did, and that's what I did in my after hours. I don't know, but RPGs were a huge part of my life for a very long time, and a lot of the times I collected books just to read them. I have some credits. All Flesh Must Be Eaten. I was an editor on that project. I was an editor on a couple of Conspiracy X books. I worked for Eden a couple of times. I was an editor for WotC on some of the D&D supplements. Playtester on 3rd edition. So yeah, I think RPGs were a big part of my identity early on in life. And I think they'll come back around for me. I just haven't had the opportunity in a long time. So, if you're at a convention and you want to do a one-off, I would be more than willing to show up and play a one-off. I really enjoy those sorts of things. And I really enjoy character-driven. I don't really give two craps what's on the piece of paper. and the dice roll is the dice roll. We don't need to fudge and have fudging points or whatever. Let's just play the game, right? Let's just play the story is more important to me. There you go. Hope that answers your question. Thanks for the question. And if anybody else wants to participate in questions with Chris, I don't know. If anybody else wants to participate, please just call the number and we can keep doing this. I'm enjoying this a lot. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends, wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again on Monday. Today's word you should know to sound smart is mean. It is a noun meaning a person's look or manner. Manny? Dan's country bumpkin mean effectively hides his shrewd business tactics. Mean. M-I-E-N. Boy, did I butcher those words. Reading is not... I'm not up for it. Can the weekend start now?